now I'm going to introduce Philippe. So Philippe runs Wakster, and we've worked with Philippe for a number of years now, and he does some fantastic and amazing things, and he talks about the wow factor in marketing and in animated videos in particular. But and so I'm sure we're going to have a slightly different look at the value proposition from Philippe. So Philippe, over to you if you want to share your screen.
Thank you, Kevin. Hi, I'm Philippe Ingels. I run a company called Wakster, and we help companies explain the value of what they offer more effectively using creative storytelling. So we will look at how to present your value proposition in the midst of an alien attack. Okay, so let's assume you've got your value proposition all worked out. You run into the world with this shiny new value proposition, convinced that you are the new rock star in the world of value offerings. Crowds will gather, there will be mass conversions, and the money will rain down from heaven. Here's the problem. It doesn't work that way. The universe really hates you. It wants you lonely and isolated in a sea of noise. So imagine your ideal client is like that movie hero that is trying to survive an alien invasion. The world is ending. She must fight her way through hordes of aliens and that want to suck out her brain, and only has a few hours to get to her ship. And there, in the midst of all that chaos, is you trying to share your value proposition with her. She's a little bit busy. In fact, it's not just you. Thousands of others are also trying to share their value propositions with our hero. So to stay on mission, the hero has a very robust system to help her focus. The first instrument she's got is an attention filter that prevents information overload. Then she also has a curiosity gauge to detect potential value. So it asks, is this of value to me, this thing that I'm looking at the moment? This gauge is connected to an attention timer set to 3 seconds. That's all you have to get through the curiosity gauge. Then she has an interest meter that continually assesses the quality of the value she's looking at. The moment that value drops below a certain measure, her attention is aborted. And then lastly, she has a not now abort button. So even if you get through all the other blockers, she might still press this button because the time is not right. So here is what you do. To get through the attention filter, you have to differentiate the way in which you present your value proposition. That red little block gets you through the attention filter because it's different from the attention competitors, especially block 32. So a few of the things that you can apply is go visual, make clever use of color, use moving images like video or GIFs, use media formats the competitor isn't using, do things that are unexpected, and create a persistent presence. Then, to push the curiosity gauge into the green, you need to create curiosity that is boosted by anticipation and emotional triggers. To learn, the human mind wants to connect the dots. So give it a dot that is loaded with curiosity. And if you add emotion to that dot, you will have them hooked. So what this image might imply is unless you use us, your value proposition is at risk. The dots the mind wants to connect is, what is this about? Who is this monster? What's going to happen to this character? So present your value proposition with curiosity in mind. This is where things such as the tagline in your value proposition, your content headline, your opening statement, the title screen of your video, and the visuals that you use play a critical role. Now, to keep the interest meeting in the green, you have to create content that is engaging. This is where storytelling comes in. We all tell our stories when we share our value proposition to somebody. Well-written stories create a persistent sense of anticipation. We want to know what will happen next, connect the dots, and find out how the story will conclude. And while the story keeps your potential client engaged, you have all that captured attention to share your value proposition. So here you look at things like telling your story through text, images, audio. So if you just, at a networking conference, have to present it verbally, you can use video, animation, VR, and even games. And that brings us to the not now abort button. We all know that the point where you manage to get through the attention filter and share your value proposition is more than likely not to be the time when the hero client is ready to get into a new spacesuit or change a rocket pack for a better one. This is why you need to make a memorable impression. And there are many strategies to do this, but that is for story for another time. Thank you for your time and attention.
Brilliant. Thank you, Philippe. So we could have a Zoom round of applause for Philippe, please. That would be great. And if you could stop sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Super. Thank you. And I think we'd have time maybe for one or two questions, but I think you can start to see what where Philippe's coming from in terms of really making some real impact then out of that value proposition and making sure that we make those, essentially I suppose, those first impressions, that 0.7 seconds, and then getting the interest and the desire from there. So time for one or two quick questions for Philippe before we start going to breakout rooms. Anybody want to ask a question? I can't see anybody. Oh, Melanie.
Well, I don't want to ask a question, but I just loved your slides and your animation, Philippe. It really brings the whole concept alive and kind of demonstrates to people kind of visually how they can go through that value proposition. Really useful. Are we going to get the slides afterwards, are we, Philippe?
Yeah, I can definitely share it.
Because I just think it just really shows the concept. Thanks, Philippe. Really good.
So a lot of Philippe's work, with things like explainer videos, for example, around then taking that value proposition, especially in markets where there's not much differentiation, and then separating yourself from that differentiation with a really good animated 3D video is some of the great stuff that Philippe does.